Hey everyone, this is Rohit from careersprints.com, and we like to produce videos that help you with your professional development and continuous learning. In this video, I'd like to talk about the role of the project manager. Please note that this video is a recording of a free live class that we do twice every month. If you like to attend a free live class and better understand the content from the PM walk, please register for it with the link in the video description. All right, without further delay, let's dive into the video.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is, how does a project manager really, what are the kind of skills that are needed by a project manager to be able to lead a team successfully, right? So basically, the end goal is that a project manager's performance is related to team performance, right? So if the team does well, it reflects good on the PM, right? So it's a positive for the PM. So the project manager definitely needs to have leadership skills. So like I said, leadership is a lot about ensuring that you get people from from one point to another point without taking any coercive action. And I'm going to cover some definitions of leader as well, some really good definitions that have been crafted by business leaders in the industry over many years. So but broadly, as a leader, you need to have skills of negotiation. So for example, your negotiation skill would be applicable in a scenario when, for example, you need to negotiate with vendors, or you need to negotiate with business stakeholders, or you may need to negotiate for resources with other functional managers. So how you go about negotiation, that is a skill that can be developed with time and with experience. But as a project manager, you need to be able to get the desired outcomes, or get other people to do what you want them to do, in a way that that is helping your project, and it does not use any coercive action. So you are not using like your ability to punish someone, or your ability to to impact someone negatively to get the job done. Those traditional managers have always been good at that. They've been task managers, and they've coerced, or they have put fear in people, and they have gotten the work done. But that's not the way to get work done, because eventually it's a strategy that will fail, right? Because people will give up, right, and maybe even leave the organization. So negotiation doesn't work. Negotiation works only in a way, when it's applied with leadership skills. Then we have resilience. So as a project manager, you need to be resilient of the changing business environment that you're in. So there will always be failures. You cannot have all projects that are going to be successful. You cannot always have a good day. You will have bad days. So you got to be emotionally intelligent and patient, and and I think patience is a precursor to being resilient. So to be able to bounce back from a negative situation, you need to have you need to have resilience as well, right? Next is communication. So obviously you need to be able to communicate properly, clearly, crisply, and effectively with a range of stakeholders. You need to know what kind of communication style to choose, because you will not be communicating with everyone in the same way, right? With a senior stakeholder, the choice of words, the tone in which you would talk would be different as compared to you talking to a peer or talking to one of the project team members, right? Then there is problem solving. So you need to have problem solving skills. In fact, like when you read any books on entrepreneurship, or read any books on some of the most successful business leaders in the world, problem solving is a very critical skill to have. So problem solving is a skill to be able to deal with problems in an analytical and mature manner. That's just my definition of what problem solving is. But you need to be analytical, you need to be a little clever, and you need to be a little mature to be able to solve problems, right? Then there is critical thinking. So critical thinking is also looking at all aspects and not jumping to conclusions. right? So critically analyzing uh, the pros and cons of something, and then basing your decisions on what makes more logical sense. And then finally, you need interpersonal skills. So you need to be, you need to know what kind of person you're dealing with, and what kind of skills, or what kind of communication methods that you need to use to be able to work with that person. So that is a reflection of interpersonal skills. So if you're too quiet, or if you're too chatty, it may not always work. You need to know what kind of personality you need to exhibit at what time. So let's look at the definition and the difference between project management and leadership, right? So this, I think, is pretty critical from understanding the difference between leadership and project management, right? So many people think that project management is being a leader, right? Or if you have the title of a project manager, you're a leader. That's not really necessary. As a project manager, you may just be a task driver, right? So a task driver is basically a person whose job is to only, get the job done or get the task done. So basically, you're assigning tasks, right? And you are monitoring whether those tasks are being completed or not. And sometimes you're also, micromanaging. You're literally like going around, sitting on people's heads, and you're trying to inspect and see whether the task has been done or not. So that is not really, good project management, right? So good project management is a combination of, applying leadership skills along with ensuring that, that the project management discipline is also applied. So let's look at the definitions. Like it says, what is the project management definition? It says is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. Now, if you look at the definition of project management, nowhere in that definition, and this definition is in the PM box. So if you go to the glossary, you open the PM box, that is the definition of project management. Nowhere it says that project management requires leadership skills, right? But the reality is that these days project management is just not about meeting project requirements. To be able to meet the project requirements in the first place, right, you need to have people who are motivated and who want to do the job. So project management extends beyond this definition of just getting the project to meet project requirements, right? So but now let's look at some definitions of leadership. So what is leadership? And these are some very good definitions that have been written by popular people in different industries. So like Peter Drucker was a very popular management philosophist or a management guru. So so there is a leadership definition by him. And let's look at other definitions. So let's look at the first definition. So it says leadership leadership as the process of persuasion or example by which an individual induces a group of followers to pursue a common objective. So, leadership is defined as a process of persuasion or example by which an individual induces a group of followers to pursue common objective. The next definition by Peter Drucker is a leader is one who has followers. And the last definition, is by Charles Cadwell. And it says effective leadership is the process of moving a group of followers in some direction through mostly non-coercive means and producing movement in the long-term best interest of the group. So this last definition is actually a mix of the first and the second definition. So if you see, the first definition says it's the process of persuasion. And the second definition says that a leader is a person who has followers. And the third definition has combined both of them. So it says it is the process of moving a group of followers. So it uses the word followers from the second definition in some direction through mostly non-coercive means. So when you say non-coercive, it means persuasion. What does the word persuasion mean? Persuasion means influence. So, when you don't have direct power over someone, how do you influence? So when you don't have direct power over someone, how do you influence that person? I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of this training, whatever. Like salespeople, for instance. Like salespeople don't really have direct power over the customer, right? When they're trying to sell something to a customer, they are not the final decision makers. The final decision makers are the customers. But salespeople have the ability to influence the sale, right? To paint a pretty picture of the product that they are trying to sell, or to create an aura of positivity in the mind of the customer to be able to look at the product in a positive light, and be able to and buy the product. So even as leaders, you need to understand, like as a project manager, for instance, you have to understand that there will be times when you will be having a direct team reporting to you, and there will be times when you don't have a direct team, but you still have to work with those people. So these, like for example, when you're working with a functional manager, how do you convince a functional manager to give you something that you need, maybe a resource? That is the beauty of leadership. So if you're a if you're a smart leader, you will use different techniques and different methods, and you will change your tone, you will change your body language, you will understand the politics of the organization, and you will fine tune your communication to be able to influence that person, or persuade that person to do something for you that needs to be done, right? So this is the difference between project management and leadership. And let's look at another slide where it kind of articulates the difference between management and leadership a little more. So when they use the word management, think of the word manager, and generally think of the word traditional manager. I'm talking about the manager of the 90s or of the 80s, where like the way things were being done at that time, like in a factory, for instance, like the way management is done in a factory. We basically, what has happened is, like, even in the corporate world or in the IT space, we are trying to apply a lot of the management techniques that were applied many years ago, like in factories, for instance. So generally, if you look at this table, which shows you the way management is being done and the way leadership is being done. So when you're doing management, you are using positional power. So what is positional power? Positional power is the ability, or rather I would say, is the power you have due to the position you hold in the company, right? So you could be the CEO of the company, or you could be the owner of the company. So obviously, if you are the owner or the CEO of the company and you want to get something done through an employee, you can coerce that person into doing whatever it is that you want them to do, just because you have a higher position in the organization, which means you're technically not influencing the person, you're forcing the person to do something for you. Because the person fears punitive action, the person fears punishment, so the person would do that for you. So that is management. Whereas leadership is about guiding, influencing, collaborating, using relational power. So what is relational power? Relational power is how good a relationship you share with someone. So if you're courteous, you're kind, you're compassionate, you're patient, and I think a lot of these words that I used are a direct result of patience. If you're a patient person, then you would be able to lead better, and try to apply less of autocratic and pace style kind of leadership techniques, right? So that's management. So management maintains, leadership develops. Management administrates, leadership innovates. Management focuses on systems and structure. Leadership focuses on relationships with people. Management relies on control, leadership relies on trust. Management relies on focus on near-term goals, leadership relies on long-term range vision, or whatever, long-term vision. Management asks how and when, right? So when is something expected to be done? How will it be done? Leaders ask why it should be done, right? And what exactly should be done. Management focuses on the bottom line, leadership focuses on the horizon. Management focuses on status quo, leadership focuses on challenging the status quo. and so on and so forth, and you get the point, right? So long story short, right, as a project manager you need to do both, right? You need to practice management and you need to practice leadership. For example, in a crisis situation, you cannot be thinking long term, right? I'm sure you will agree. In a crisis situation, you don't have the time to develop relations and get a consensus from everyone. You may need to take a decision instantaneously, right? So you need to apply the appropriate leadership style or management style at different points in the project, right? Being consistent with one style is not going to work. You cannot always be in leader mode. At the same time, you cannot always be in, like an autocratic or, like in a mode where you're imposing things on people. So you can't even be doing that. So there has to be a fine balance between management and leadership. And there is need for both in project management.
Thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Also, if you still haven't registered for a free live class, please do so. We pack tons of useful information that can make a massive difference to your PMP exam prep strategy. And the link for that is in the description below. Wish you good luck with the PMP exam. Thank you.